Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back. We have the Yamaha MG12XU mixing console, mixing desk, audio mixer. Call it what you like. It's a mixing board, all right? Anyways, this was an upgrade from my 10XU, and I could have had a 10XU-F, which means fader, among other features which are definitely available here, were available on it. Unfortunately, Long McQuaid didn't have any of those in stock at all, and I'm a little impatient, didn't want to wait. But I also figured 10 channels ain't enough. I need more. Okay? And definitely handy, that's for sure. More is the merrier, but you got to be able to still fit it in your area where you need the sucker. So, yeah, this is kind of like I'm maxed out 12 channels, and the extra two are very handy for me. So that worked out great, and I can hook up to like literally 6 mics in one shot if I want to, or 6 of anything that's XLR. 4 that are either XLR or TRS, because the other 2 remaining ones are XLR only, but you do have 1/4-inch jack support up front for, of course, stereo connections, because it's also channels 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are also all stereo channels, but you can run 5, 6, 7, and 8 as mono channels, because every XLR input is considered a mono input source, even though you do have left and right, and you do have the capable for stereo output as well. Also, we have group channels on this, which means that, as an example, just to give you an idea, we have a 32-channel Yamaha mixer at our church, which we needed desperately. And we do have 4 group outs. Now, we could place speakers, say, downstairs. We can place speakers out in the foyer, in the lobby area, and wherever else. And we can use those group channels to put X amount of volume to each area, and just not have anything going on in the sanctuary. We can have that actually basically shut down and just run group outs. Or we can have lower volume in the sanctuary and have the audio out there, that sort of thing. So that's the idea behind groups. But groups do give you access to even more speaker access, even in the same room, which is kind of also very handy. And you do have the ability to go either 1/4-inch or XLR out to your speakers. Now, this is a preamp mixer, and most mixers on the market are only a preamp mixer, which means there's no built-in amplifier, so you can't just plug in like normal everyday speakers and that don't have an amplifier in them. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. This is a preamp, so you need what's called a biamped powered speaker that has its own amplifier in it, and this is your preamp. This controls the contour or the color of your sound based on your EQ settings for each input, etc., etc. Okay. Now, we also have a 26 decibel reduction pad switch on these first technically 6 channels. Okay, now 2 of those pad switches are just sitting down here below the phantom power, which is active because I have a phantom powered mic on this system as well, which is called my room mic. Then I have a blank channel. Then I have headset on channel 3, my desk mic, which I'm using right now to yak to you guys with, at a bit more distance than probably I should be at, because it is just a dynamic mic. But anyways, we can get the volume going really loud if we want. Anyways, let's pull back away. Then, of course, I have my MacBook M1 Air, which goes from its headphone jack out to channels 5 and 6 with 1/4-inch inputs, which you can see the yellow and red connectors for that, and that's the inputs for stereo that way. And I'll talk about that in another video, why we had to put the MacBook Air into the system this way. Then we have on channel 7 and 8, which has an XLR plug-in, as does 5 and 6, but on 7 and 8, I'm using the XLR input because I have XLR out to XLR in for my Line 6 wireless system for my guitar. And then, of course, on channels 9 and 10, 11 and 12, we have stereo channels in use with tape deck and CD player. Now, why on goodness green earth do companies remove on the full out stereo channels the mid-range control? We will never freaking know. But we do have aux output too, which we can pipe sound onto the stage with the aux channels if we wanted to on any of these, okay? So, and then of course we have on and off switches, which are nice to have that independent, and then this way you don't have to worry about any kind of stuff. And that's kind of where I wanted to go. I wanted to get into a better board again without breaking the bank too, because this is like under 500 bucks Canadian for this board, and I was able to use my 10XU as trade-in, which saved me about almost 140 bucks off the price. So I got a good trade-in value, and I had that mixer for quite a long time. You can check that out on my channel too. And of course we do have headphone monitoring. We do have a monitor channel for monitors in your booth. So if you are an isolated booth, you can have reference monitors in your booth with you, so you can monitor what's going on out there that you won't be able to hear if you have a proper isolation booth for your sound. Okay, so you can use monitors in there, which will help you better to hear and be able to set proper levels that way without headphones. And because headphones, unless you buy really, really, really good ones, which are still not advised to use for mixing audio, even for live, but you can, you're better off with monitor speakers if you can do it. Anyways, and then you can set your EQs, all that other jazz. And of course we have PFL, which is pre-fade listen. That is to set your gain stage width for each one of your channels that are in use. And then you turn that switch off when you're done monitoring that channel, okay? And of course, across the top row, you've got all these gray and white buttons. That's your group outs. You're either going to use them or not. In most cases, a lot of people don't use them, but you can use them if you need them for either in the same area or you want to pipe sound out to somewhere else in the building, which works pretty good. The stereo buttons must each be down for each channel you have in use, or no audio goes through to the stage even, okay, to the house. You need the stereo button active for each channel that it's active. So anyway, and of course we got our usual bass, mid, treble. Our first 4 channels also have compressors on each one. Obviously they didn't have room on this thing to put in compressors on 5, 6, 7, and 8, nor are they required really. But compressor adds more punch and dynamics, especially to vocals. You'll have to use your own discretion. All of the XLR capable channels from 1 to 8, okay, because 5 and 6, 7 and 8, they have obviously their own gain stages because they need them, but they also all have high pass filter capability. Now, the other thing we do find as well is on 5, 6, 7, and 8, what we don't have is a decibel cut switch. We only have just the high pass filter only. So do not plug anything in there that has an extremely high signal ratio. Use that in one of the other channels so you can cut the dB pad if needed to be, okay? So you don't want to damage anything. That's the bottom line here. Now, the other thing I want to point out about the manual for this thing is Yamaha does say that you only turn on phantom power for phantom power devices. Well, what if you need a phantom power device and a dynamic device at the same time, or a passive device? Well, they say don't turn on the phantom power if that's the case, because it could result in damage to the item. They actually lie. I've been using mixers for decades, and I'll tell you for a fact that I've also run with phantom stuff before, and it will not do a darn thing to your dynamic or passive devices if phantom power happens to be active, okay? The only time you do activate phantom power is if you have an input device that requires phantom power, okay? Now, dynamic mics don't, and in the majority of cases, people are not using condenser mics that require phantom power. They're using dynamics, okay? So yeah, you'd always have the phantom power off. But I'm going to guarantee you this, it is not going to harm your non-phantom powered capable devices if phantom power happens to be turned on, because the wiring does not support allowing the voltage to go to your dynamic devices. It only allows the power for the wiring systems for what they're designed for. Okay, so don't worry about it. Negate that part of the manual. Yamaha needs to make a correction. Okay. Anyhow, the stereo channels don't have mid-range control, which is fine. Why, we don't know, but it seems to be a very common thing to happen on the majority of mixers out there, even in the really high-end stuff. A lot of those companies do not have the mid-range control for the bass mid treble. They don't have the mid-range on the stereo channels, but we have 4 stereo channels in total. And 2 of our stereo channels, 5, 6, 7, 8, which are also mono channels when used with XLR, do have bass, mid, and treble. So we don't know why they don't. And even our big 32 channel one at our church, that's Yamaha, it's the same thing on the main stereo channels that are dedicated stereo channels. It does not have mid-range control. I don't get it, because it's like I could get such a better sound out of those speakers if I had mid-range control for, you know, the MP3s that we play or movies we want to play. Really dial in the shape of that sound, like, you know, like really good. Because bass and treble are kind of like, well, that's kind of really old school, okay? But this is the way companies work. It's not just Yamaha doing it. Even the higher end companies do it. But it is a quality built mixer. There's a lot of metal on this thing too, so it is built to take a beating. You know what I mean? You can take this thing gigging at coffee shops and parks and this place and that place, and or if you only have a small church that doesn't need more than a 12 channel mixer, this is perfect. I mean, it's under $500. Grab yourself some half decent mics for your people who are singing on stage, right? And away you go. Oh yeah, and some speakers. You do need bi-powered speakers because it is only a preamp mixer, so there is no amplifier built in. But you can go out to a separate amp with separate speakers, or you can get bi-powered speakers, which saves you a lot of extra money. And it's much more convenient to have bi-powered speakers too. Just like run a cable off the snake and, you know, right to your stage, plug it into the back of the speaker, turn the power on each one, away you go. You're done and done. And it works so much better. But anyways, the aux channels too. Aux channel 1, of course, you will not be able to pipe sound effects through from the built-in effects, but aux channel 2 is a double thing. It works as a effect channel for effects or auxiliary out, and you can have effects on aux 2 only to that aux 2 speaker. You can have effects mixed in with, but you got to be careful because the more aux power you turn the dial up for the aux channel, the more that effect becomes present, which means you will have to modify your FX return and your perimeters in order to calm things down again. Okay, so that's going to take a bit of tweaking, if you know what I mean. All right, but otherwise, yeah, perfect. And all of our red dials, they're just all your left and right balance controls. And they also call them pan controls on some mixers too. They are not faders per se, they are balance, okay? And you can do some pretty interesting things too with the balance controls as well. I've had a lot of fun at the church with our 32 channel Yamaha mixer with a couple of people that have come in to play and done some very interesting audio mixing for live performance that actually worked out really sweet. So anyway, other than that, that's all we've got for you on this. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 all day long. You know, it's perfectly fine, and I love the built-in power supply now too. No more bricks, and it's at a great perfect angle for any desk setup. And away you go, rock and roll. The quality build is really good on this mixer, as is all Yamaha mixers I've ever had, even some pretty old ones. It's been fantastic. So that's great. So yeah, I think we can safely put this at a 4.5 out of 5 with no problems. Highly recommend it if this is the size category you're looking at, and it'll meet your needs and requirements for your purpose. Whether you're a YouTube channel creator or a musician like me that knows how to run audio gear to record my own stuff, this does save us a lot of money than, you know, going to an actual recording studio, because we can still make some pretty wicked, awesome awesome recordings without having to, pay some guy like thousands of dollars to do all that mixing and stuff for us. It's just sometimes it's more convenient not to own the equipment, but it depends on your situation. I'm a soloist, so for me, this works out perfect. If you're a group of three or more, well, then you might want to consider either a bigger rehearsal area that you can, do proper sound buffering to, etc. Do your recording that way, get somebody who can run the thing, or pay an actual recording studio to record your music. But kind of up to you which way you go. A lot of options out there. Anyways, so check yours out now, Long McQuaid. In Canada, if you're Canadian, you check on Amazon. They got them there too. But I tell you right now, they are under $500 in Canada for these mixers, under 500. So if you see a price somewhere that's like over 500 bucks, pretty good chance they're ripping you off. Okay. But Long McQuaid in Canada has like over 100 stores to choose from. You can shop online, you can go in person, whatever. You can even find good quality used gear as well to save yourself even more money as well. And they do have awesome and outstanding performance warranties that they offer on the majority of items as well to overextend your warranty above and beyond even what a manufacturer would offer. And the whole drill there, especially if you're a Canadian. Long McQuaid if you're a Canadian, hopefully. Uh, you know, best place to shop as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, that's it. That's all. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.